Okay, just a quick hello from me. A little video summary of day 2 of our 2 days of research and presentation skill stuff. So again, just a short video like I did of the summary of day 1. So we began today by, well, I did a little kind of overview of things that we looked at in day 1, and I pointed out that I'd made the video, okay, and I played a little bit of the video. So there's a kind of 17-18 minute video summary of day 1 that's available on now. I will also post the links out to it directly, as well as the links to this video. So that was a useful thing to do. And then what we did was we spent quite a bit of time talking about the conversation. I think first off I did a little tour around some of the content on now and highlighted some of the things that were there that we weren't going to look at to an extent in the live session, but we would go back to. So some of the stuff around the general data protection regulations, and pointing out that there's guides from the Information Commissioner's Officer and various other guides for researcher regarding data regulations. And we highlighted the fact that they might change, especially because they're aligned to European regulations and that kind of thing. So check with your course teams, check with your supervisory teams, look out for updates around that when it's at relevant points in your project to do so. But then we got into the kind of the meat of that first session of the morning, which was an in-depth look at the conversation. So I'd mentioned the conversation yesterday, but I was saying, that it's potentially kind of really useful. So we had a look at it. I went into my account so that you could see the university analytics that are available to staff and students. Encourage people to sign up to it. And we had the good fortune that somebody had actually published something in the conversation, and she very generously shared her feedback about the experience around that, which I seem to remember was kind of limited impacts for her at the time, but very useful for some other people in the team. And then again, by a lucky coincidence, her flatmate also published in the conversation, and I'd already highlighted Heather, okay, we can call her Heather. I'd already highlighted Heather to pull out as a fantastic case study of a postgraduate researcher who was beginning to build their profile by having some stuff published in the conversation. As we're saying as well, it's really popular with the Vice Chancellor and senior management at this university. This university is very much behind pushing things like the conversation as a way of having public engagement. So it might not be a great measure of kind of academic impact in terms of the ref, but it's certainly a proxy for some kind of public impact. And again, we could look at the statistics and see the kind of the views and the distribution of the views for various articles and stuff like that. And clearly for some people it was very useful because it had generated people getting in touch, it had generated further contacts and further opportunities to people. I pulled up a few other examples of staff on that, which people found useful. Since doing the session, somebody has emailed me and said that what they'd done is they'd gone on the conversation and they'd looked up lots of information about their supervisory team and found loads of publications and kind of little insights to their supervisory team. So again, something I would encourage you to do. So your supervisory teams and other people within the departments that you're currently based in, have a look at them for things like conversation. It's also, as I was saying, if you're having a bit of a hard day and you think I'm not quite up to reading a really heavy journal article about your particular topic, then maybe do some keyword searches on something like the conversation. Get some short but well written articles that will be of relevance to what you're doing, and then the details of the academics are there, so you can look them up, look up their further details. Often they'll have an ORCID ID linked in, so click on that, it'll take you to their ORCID profile and their kind of publication links and stuff like that. So really good, really helpful, really useful site to look at. And we spent quite a bit of time on that, but it was worth doing because of the fact that we had people in the room, as it were, who'd published, and we had people's supervisors who were published. We're using examples, and we're looking at that kind of thing. And there were some really good questions about, is it peer reviewed or not? No, it isn't peer reviewed, but it's got a certain quality threshold, and it's well regarded by a lot of academics, crucially well regarded by a lot of university management teams, and it's a great way of just getting your name out there and doing stuff. So we were looking at that kind of thing, quite a bit of detail on that. I did a brief mention of podcasts as well, something I'd mentioned yesterday and kind of realised I hadn't looked at in detail. So I talked about some of the things around podcasts and just called up connected my phone to my computer so you could see the kind of things I was looking at. And I was saying that some of it's maybe quite niche stuff, but it doesn't matter. You can be sat in the car. Okay, I'm in a car park, by the way, not on a public road. You can be sat in the car and listening to stuff that's relevant to your research areas, and that's one of the ways, listening to podcasts, is that I keep up with lots of kind of criminological and technological and sociological developments and stuff, because I can listen to people, and again, some of these podcasts start out quite low key, quite niche, but they get a bit of a following, and then they invite experts in the fields in to talk about stuff. So definitely, a good area to look at. One of the things we then looked at in detail, just looking, is I talked about the use of kind of having large photographs and stuff like that to kind of extend your space within presentation sessions at conferences. And we used the example from DAWS 2, Deaf Online Research Symposium 2, where I was presenting at Kingston upon Thames and I was using augmented reality. Okay, and that was quite a specialist use of it. But you can think about ways that you can kind of decorate your set, as it were, quickly and efficiently, sometimes to extend beyond what you're simply doing in terms of big data projection and stuff like that. Crucially, I talked about how you can't always know that the setup might be appropriate and suitable for putting posters up around the place and stuff like that. Equally, you don't know how good the data projections are before you get there, but they are more and more getting kind of bigger and more central and better in terms of projecting stuff up there. So one of the things I then looked at was, well, can we be a bit more imaginative in terms of how we use things like PowerPoint files? And so again, I used one of my PowerPoint files. This one was from DAWS 4, I think, in Hull. And this is where I'd embedded some clips into it. And by embedding the movie clips, it meant that I could demonstrate certain things that otherwise would be very difficult to demonstrate in a large space to certain people. So demonstrate the augmented reality and demonstrate using close-ups, but these were filmed, of course, and on a big screen. And crucially, it was a way for me to bring my field work into the presentation. And it was, I think everyone agreed, it was very atmospheric. It was filmed in the evening in a cemetery. You could hear the birds song. It was a kind of warm summer evening that it was filmed on. Made the point really effectively. And then I had another couple of clips in again where I was using things like augmented reality with the tattoos, and again that worked quite well because it meant something that would be a close-up thing to demonstrate we could actually then use on a big screen as part of an overall presentation. Again, some good questions around it. People were interested in it, and again, you don't have to just replicate what I've done. I'm giving you some examples of what I've done to show you ways that you can be creative. You will come up with your own ways to be creative and use your imagination as ways of kind of taking what you're doing forward. And we had a few, besides those kind of things that I was presenting, we had some really kind of good discussions that arose just naturally. So we ran with some of those discussions, kind of organic discussions around what people wanted to bring up. So again, a very big thank you to everyone who made a contribution. Okay, so large or small, big thank you to it. It really helps. It's better for you because you've not just got a diet of me talking at you. Hopefully I'm telling you some interesting and useful stuff, and I'm breaking it up with some of the demonstrations like I did this morning. But it really helps when you come in as well, and it's a kind of, we're working together to have a conversation rather than me just talking at you didactically. And then I took the chance to kind of summarise what we looked at over the 2 days, remind ourselves of the importance of having backup strategies, the importance of perhaps thinking about the best ways for you to engage with social media, and all the stuff that we'd looked at. Again, look at the highlights from the video from day one that we didn't produce, and then we got to an actual stopping point where and so rather than kind of labour it and artificially draw it out into the afternoon, we set that aside so that people could have one-to-one bookings, 30-minute sessions, and again, they worked really well. Certainly from my point of view, they worked really well. I think they worked really well from the point of view that people took them up. Again, it was an offer that I made that if you weren't available this afternoon, get back in touch sometime in the future and we can go through it. But I have to say, I think that the people who had the one-to-one sessions with me got some real value out of it. I say that because that's what they were saying to me during the sessions, as well as my sense of what was going on. So overall, I found it a really helpful and productive 2 days. It's also been really good for me because we had to rapidly convert what was a face-to-face classroom-based session into something that was purely online, and it threw up. So it was quite interesting for me to look at materials and try and think, well, what will work as an online session, what shall we kind of just drop back as reserved materials, and also that approach of how do you deliver it generally. So this idea of perhaps having a 1 or 2 hour workshop and lots of long stuff, we broke it up into smaller chunks, put lots of little breaks in. That seemed to work for everyone, because it is quite demanding having to pay attention to people on the screen all the time, and kind of working in that way. So big thank you to everyone. It all seemed to go very well. I've just taken the chance to find somewhere quiet. I've actually come out to do some shopping this evening, so I'm sat in a supermarket car park. I'm not on a public road while I'm talking to you on the phone or anything, and it was just a chance for me to quickly make a video, which once I've got the shopping and stuff done, I'll go back, get it uploaded for you, and hopefully you'll find this just another useful little addition to the overall package of things that we've done over the 2 days. So thanks a lot. I found it really good in the end. I was quite nervous before we did it. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work, but thanks to you, okay, it worked. So brilliant. Thank you very much.